Hello, ladies and gents, and welcome back to Bluebaggers Edge. As you can see, I'm all kitted up, new hat and a new jumper as well, courtesy of my father-in-law, Pete, Pistol Pete. It was a nice gift from him, and I am geared up, ready to go for tonight's game against the Pies. Well, what can we expect? It's as I've said in previous videos, a bit of a Groundhog Day scenario, but we are seeing small bits of improvement from week to week. I think we saw against the Hawks, there was elements of improvement with regards to how we exited defence in the first part of the that game anyway, the first half. And we were hitting up forwards as well on leads, which was good to see, and not just bombing aimlessly on the heads of our players, but we kind of reverted back to that. It's almost like a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde type team that we've got at the moment, where they can be world beaters and look like world beaters in the first half and look like we've arrested all of the deficiencies and everything. And then second half, we go back to being, the really unappealing shit Carlton team that we really don't like watching and seeing the results from. So, we just want the consistency across 4 quarters. That's the main thing that I'm looking for heading there. And I'm worried because, obviously facing the Pies, our recent encounters have been, single digit margins. And, I can remember back, what was it, the Dacos goal to finish us, the kick after the siren from McGovern, which that game more recently, I remember that was, we kind of were ahead, fell in a heap, and then we came back again. And that was frustrating because it was kind of elements of what we're seeing now, where that the team was performing well and then lost it, but then came back. And obviously the kick after the siren didn't get close. And then even prior to that, we've seen Jamie Elliott, everything. And we all know, I don't need to run through the extended history of it. That's just a bit of a taste of why it would be so sweet to beat the Pies tonight. Everything else aside, with what we're dealing with at the moment, with consistency, with form, the pressure on Voss and the wider coaching staff, everything else, that it'd just be an incredible circuit breaker if we could win. And we're all, not having tasted a win since West Coast late last year, going into a year where you're facing Norton 4. It's obviously not the best position to be in, but you just, week after week with these losses, it's different to previous, eras, I guess, under, Teague, Bolton, even dating back to Pagan, when we had like bit part players that we picked off the scrap heap from other teams because of the salary cap breaches, where you're kind of expecting us to lose because the quality wasn't there. But it's frustrating now because we know the quality is there. On paper, we should be contending. We've got a spine of a team that, the rest of the competition should be envious of, and we're just not performing to expectations. So it is frustrating, but yeah, you just want to see consistency and, again, working on those deficiencies. So we'll see how we go. I'm going in, I am hopeful, obviously, of a win, but I'm not going in overly confident, much like, I guess, any encounter against the Pies. And, it's stereotypical, and they always say that no matter where the teams are on the ladder, that both of the, teams come out firing. And, if one's in a form slump, they normally come to the party and make it a really good game. So hopefully it is that at the very least, but it would be heartbreaking again. To lose to any mob is one thing, but to lose to the Pies, who I think their supporter base are the most, vocal and passionate, which is a good thing. But to opposition supporters, they can be very layerizing, for lack of a better word. So let's get into, I guess, the nitty gritty ins and outs, all that sort of stuff, and we'll keep it quite brief. So let's have a look, and we have for the Pies, Billy Frampton coming in, Brody Mychek as well. So a couple of key position players at both ends for the Pies returning. Reef McGuinness goes out with that, I think it was an ACL he may have done, so best of luck to him. Never like to see that. And Mason Cox as well. So couple of interesting ins there. And for us, going into this game, I was expecting Will White to make his debut, so it is good to see. I think he kicked 4 goals in the VFL the other week. I think the VFL were on a bye last weekend, so really hard to get a read on, I guess, form lines, but you've got to kind of look back to the previous week where, as I said, Will White kicked those 4 goals and looked really good and lively. So I think he offers a little bit more than what Francis Evans does. Again, I don't know why we were playing him. We don't need to play a million defensive forwards because end of the day, we need to kick goals and we need to win. So good to see that the coaching staff and Vossi have come to their senses there. Cooper Lord, he never should have been out of the team. And again, he should not be the sub. He's another in and under player that we need on field. So make that happen. Do not make him the sub and do not sub him off. Just ridiculous. And Ashton Moyer as well should have been playing since round 1, in my opinion. So especially without Harry there, we need another forward target. Just give him a run, see how he goes. We saw what he could produce in the back end of 2024. So good to see he is finally back in. Matty Cottrell, I think he had a little bit of a niggle, I think, from what I've read. Jordan Boyd, I think he's very, very unlucky. I never like to see a player, especially if they are the starting sub and they come on late in the game, that they haven't really been given an opportunity to prove their wares and really contribute to the game itself or the performance of the overall team. So I don't really understand that. We brought him back in because he's, foot skills are much, much needed. And yet we started him as the sub. So just perplexing again. This is the one thing, and part of when I speak of deficiencies, this is a big deficiency in our game when it comes to the structure of our team and team selection. I think we get it wrong so often, which just leaves me scratching my head and asking how this is possible. But I think there are some positives come out of this. All 3 inclusions, I think, are ones that I would have made. Jordan Boyd is probably one that I would have kept. Matty Cottrell, I will say, probably hasn't been in the best form. He's shown some okay form in patches, but just hasn't had that consistency. And I probably would have, in all honesty, given him a week off. So that's kind of a bit convenient that he is carrying a little bit of a niggle at the moment. And Francis Evans, he's just not up to the level, unfortunately. But yeah, he's just a depth player. And the fact that he is starting in our team just speaks to that lack of depth that we've got in our team, which is quite alarming. Let's have a quick look at the matchups and we'll go through just some quick stats as well. So, I mean, in terms of previous encounters, as I said, we all know single-digit margins. And, we have to date back to 2023 for our last win against the Pies, which was 93-76. Most recently, it was 85-79, which was, I think, the Dacos game. And then that was the 84-81 game that was McGovern's kick after the siren. So let's have a quick look at the team stats. Just in terms of averages thus far, I mean, it's a small sample size, only 3 games have been played, discounting, of course, the opening round game. But pretty even across the board, I must say. Inside 50s, surprisingly, we're actually having 2 more on average than the Pies. Disposal efficiency, the Pies are much, much more efficient, 71.6 to 66. And efficiency inside 50 as well, 52.4, no surprise with us, down to 36.6. Hit-outs quite even, clearances in our favour. So I think this is a part of the game where we're quite strong. And I was going to go through KO and just pull up some clips from the game against the Dogs. But the one thing that I did notice was Walsh was sitting on the defensive goal side of the stoppage and was there virtually by himself. And when we would win the clearance, we would immediately handball to him by himself and then project forward, which I really love that setup. And that was something that who did I see? I think Hawthorn had that sort of setup. And they absolutely tore us to shreds when they got on top in that game. And it was good to see that we actually adopted a similar style. So I love that setup, and hopefully we go with that again and we can get on top of the Pies in the middle. Winning clearances across the board in terms of averages compared to them, which is good. Contested possessions as well. But this is the one part of the game that is alarming and has been an issue for us against opposition teams. And the Pies as well, likewise, they averaged 220.7 uncontested possessions to 196.7 for us. So we need to really tighten up the game there and make sure that we're applying pressure, because that there with uncontested possessions is a little bit of insight into our pressure rating. If we're not applying enough pressure, they're getting their hands on free ball and able to capitalize and obviously make some forward movements and scoring opportunities off the back of that as well. Turnovers, obviously we've got a bit more. No surprise there. Marks, fairly even. Marks inside 50 to the Pies. And scoring wise, they're averaging 12.3 goals to our 9.3. And that's pretty much it. I mean, tackling as well. We're actually smashing the pies in terms of that. In comparison, 77.3 to 57.3, so 20 more tackles on average per game, which is good to see, and even tackles inside 50 as well, which is a good thing. We want to restrict that ball in our forward line if we do happen to turn it over, and maximize the amount of scoring opportunities that we do have. I just want to quickly flick across to Wheelo Ratings, great website if you want to have a look at more of a deep dive into all things stats. But the scoring sources for the Pies, where they really capitalise, and they're actually ranked 5th in the competition for it's scoring via turnovers, which for us is a big, big issue in terms of the amount of turnovers that we're giving and the amount of scores that we're giving to opposition teams off the back of those turnovers. And we saw that against Richmond especially. So we need to, again, tighten up our game, make sure that we're not being so inefficient with our ball movement. And just if we need to slow things down, do that. But just maintain possession. Don't make any stupid errors. But the one thing that I did like in terms of taking risks was, especially in the first half of the game against the Dogs, where we were kind of, not going down the same line, the same side of the ground down the line every single time. We've switched the ball very quickly, and in switching the ball, we've spread to the opposite side of the ground, which is what we need to do and have failed to do previously. So I love that. Even zigzagging as well, going wide, going back in the middle, going wide again, and really making the full use of the ground, which will come in handy in playing at the MCG. So with that, I think that's pretty much it. I want to keep this quite short because I want to put this up before the game. I'm leaving for the game in about half an hour's time. So just wanted to pop that up there, do a little bit of a review. As I said, I would have liked to have gone through some clips from the previous game, but ran out of time, unfortunately. But as I said, those are kind of the key areas of where we're looking to get on top of the Pies and where I'm hopeful that we can really capitalise and win, really, because they are a beatable team. I think the Pies, they've shown that. And I mean, we can kind of match them in terms of, I think our forward line, I think we can definitely match them. And I think our engine room, when it's at the top of its game, can eclipse the Pies. But big question is, can it? And do it for 4 quarters. That's really the main thing. But that's it, ladies and gents. Thank you as always for tuning in. Let us know your comments down below, what your expectations are. What are you hoping to see? Can we beat the Pies, our arch rival? It would be an incredible circuit breaker. And just give us a taste of a win, and really settle the nerves and get the monkey off the back. And hopefully, build on our season off the back of this. It's going to be a really, really tough ask, I think, making finals off the back of this, let alone top 4 spot, which kind of goes without saying has been our expectations going into this season. But we've got to start from the ground up. We've got to start from somewhere. Let's be positive. Let's get the win. Let's get it done, boys. So with that, thanks as always, and we'll catch you with the next one. Go Baggers.